She told me these kids aren't yours while folding laundry. I canceled tuition, erased my role, and let her silence explain why I finally walked away. She said it while folding laundry. That is the part that really stuck with me. Not the words themselves, but the ease with which she delivered them. A stack of socks in one hand, my damn sweater in the other, eyes on the television, not even bothering to look at me. These kids are not yours. Like I had misfiled a receipt, like she was correcting some logistical error. I stood there in the kitchen, holding a pan still warm from dinner, the smell of garlic and butter still hanging in the air. The kids had gone upstairs already. Chloe was FaceTiming her best friend, and Mason was rewatching some YouTuber scream into a headset. Normal night routine, the kind that dulls you into thinking the ground is solid. She did not yell, no drama, just a truth, raw and bare. These kids are not yours. She did not even flinch. And I did not ask for clarification. I did not stammer or argue or plead. I just nodded once, set the pan down, wiped my hands on the towel, said, "Okay." Then I made her a cup of chamomile because she said her head hurt, sat beside her on the couch, watched the rest of the show with her, laughed when she did, kissed her shoulder before bed. She probably thought I was taking the high road. She probably felt vindicated. But when the house finally fell still, when her breathing shifted to that light snore I used to find comforting, I slid out of bed, walked downstairs, opened my laptop, and logged into the tuition portal for Westfield Academy. 2 clicks later, the upcoming payment of $11,200 for the spring semester was gone. Authorization revoked, future payments disabled. Then I opened the shared drive I used with my accountant, uploaded every receipt from the past 8 years. Soccer uniforms, orthodontics, piano recital, weekend trips, allergy tests, all under my name, all funded by me. She said the kids were not mine. I decided to believe her. And to the 98% of you watching who have not hit that subscribe button, help me reach my first 10,000 subscribers. It is a small click for you, but it pushes my team to keep creating stories like this with everything we have got. Seriously, it matters. The next morning, I was buttering toast while Chloe argued with Mason about screen time. My wife strolled in with her usual half smile, stealing a bite of my breakfast like nothing had happened. I handed her coffee, kissed the top of her head. "You are sweet," she said absently, scrolling through her phone. "See, I knew you would get over it." Over it? Like it was a mood, a moment, a stubbed toe on the path of marriage. She did not realize what I had taken from that moment. She did not realize she had just given me permission. Not to stop loving the kids, but to stop pretending I did not notice the quiet erasures. The way she had started calling me he when speaking to friends. How my framed photos disappeared from her office. How the school started copying only her on emails. She had been rewriting the story for a while. She just did not expect me to hand her the pen back. The Westfield parent portal had this pastel blue interface like a pediatrician's office. Cheerful fonts, little icons shaped like books and backpacks. I had logged in hundreds of times, paid every invoice before the paper one even made it to our mailbox. Field trip to the District of Columbia, done. Chloe's iPad rental for remote learning, sure. Mason's aftercare during flu season when my wife could not be bothered to pick him up, always me. This time I scrolled straight to the billing tab, no hesitation. Upcoming payment of $24,000, spring term due in 4 weeks. I clicked the authorization settings drop-down, withdraw future payment authorization. One more prompt, are you sure? Yes, final confirmation. Yes, I am sure. The screen flickered, the portal refreshed, a friendly message popped up. Payment authorization successfully canceled. There was no explosion, no alert, just silence, like walking out of a room and softly shutting the door behind you. I took screenshots of every invoice I had paid since 2013, archived them into a folder I renamed History. Then I forwarded the entire folder to my financial advisor with one simple instruction: freeze the Westfield Education Trust. Do not disperse further funds. He called me within the hour. "Sir," he said gently, just confirming. "This means both kids, correct?" I did not even flinch. "Correct." He hesitated. "I am sorry. I just want to be clear. You and your wife, everything okay?" I paused, then said, "She made it clear I am not their father, so I am acting accordingly." No emotion, just words clipped and clean. There was a pause on the other end, then understood. "I will make a note in the system." I leaned back in my chair, cracked my knuckles, and stared at the framed photo on the bookshelf. Chloe, age 6, missing a tooth, laughing at something off camera. Mason in a dinosaur hoodie, both sitting on my shoulders in Yosemite. That had been a good trip. I did not stop loving them. I just stopped being a fool about it because you can love someone else's children with your whole soul and still be told you are temporary. And that night, my wife came downstairs wearing a robe and a face mask, kissed me on the head like nothing had shifted. "What are you working on?" "Just taxes." She laughed. "That time of year again." "Yeah," I said. "Got to make sure everything is in the right name." She did not even catch it. Not yet. She floated downstairs in yoga pants and a messy bun, humming some tune from the 2000s like it was still her decade. The smell of cinnamon toast and fresh coffee wafted through the kitchen. I was at the counter slicing apple wedges into the kids' lunchboxes. Mason was already in his uniform trying to explain to Chloe why Pluto being a planet mattered more than algebra. The usual breakfast debate. "Morning," she said, leaning over to grab a mug. "You are up early." "Did not sleep much," I replied. She did not probe, just sipped, scrolled, smiled. To her, it was over. Just another bump in the marital road. A weird conversation and an unusually long silence. She thought I was sulking. Maybe she chalked it up to hormones or age or ego. "He is sensitive sometimes," I imagine her saying to one of her work buddies later, probably over lunch, probably with a pitying smile. "You know how men get. He will get over it." What she did not see was the paper trail I left behind, the timestamp on the portal cancellation, the trust suspension notice marked irrevocable, the invisible line I had drawn that night and never planned to cross again. By the time she pulled into the office garage and waved at the receptionist like she had not just detonated our home dynamic, I had already picked up dry cleaning, answered 2 emails from the kids' homeroom teachers, and rescheduled Mason's orthodontist appointment for next Thursday. She still had not caught the scent of smoke from the fire she started. It hit at 1:37 post-meridian. Her phone buzzed during a planning meeting. She glanced down, recognized the number, smiled. Westfield Academy. Probably about a fundraiser, she thought, or Chloe's overdue library books. She excused herself with a laugh, stepped into the hallway, pressed answer. "Hello, this is Miss Callahan." The voice on the other end was professional, measured, polite, but distant. "Hi, Miss Callahan. This is Patrice with the billing department at Westfield. We are just confirming how you would like to handle tuition for the upcoming semester. Your partner removed payment authorization last night. Should we send the updated invoice to your email or home address? There are moments in life when time stutters." Her fingers clenched the phone just a little tighter. Her voice caught in her throat before she found the right pitch. I am sorry." "He what?" "He removed his card and disabled future payments. We are assuming there was a change in financial responsibility. We just need to confirm the next point of contact for tuition processing." Her eyes darted around the hallway like the walls might help her make sense of the sentence. "No, that must be a mistake. He handles all that," she said, trying to sound in control. "Oh, well, according to the account, his access has been revoked. The system shows your email added as primary on file. Is that preferred?" There was a long silence then. "Yes, sure. You can send it to me. Thank you. And just a heads up, the payment deadline is February 15th. Let us know if you would like to discuss installment plans." She ended the call without saying goodbye, just stared at the phone like it had betrayed her. And for the first time in a long time, she did not feel in control. The first call came in at 2:09 post-meridian, exactly 32 minutes after the one from the school. I saw her name on the screen while I was walking back from the hardware store. I did not even slow my pace, just let it ring. I watched the call icon disappear like a raindrop down a windshield. 3 minutes later, a text, "Everything okay at home?" I typed my reply without punctuation, without warmth. "Kids are fine." I knew that would land like a gut punch. The subtext was not subtle. She did not text again. That evening, I cooked dinner like usual, lasagna from scratch because Mason had been asking for it all week. I chopped the garlic, layered the ricotta, poured a glass of red wine, not for me, for her. Set the table with napkins and forks, called the kids down like nothing had shifted. Chloe told me about a pop quiz. Mason wanted help with a science project involving magnets and tinfoil. The only thing missing was her voice. She did not say much when she got home. Kissed the kids, took a sip of the wine I poured, chewed her food like it might bite back. We were clearing dishes when she finally spoke. "So, the school called me today." I did not look up from the sink. "Yeah, they said there was an issue with payment." "Oh." Her tone sharpened. "Did you cancel the tuition?" I turned, wiped my hands on a towel, and gave her a small, polite smile. I am not their parent. I figured it was not my place anymore. The air in the kitchen changed like someone had turned the thermostat down 20 degrees. She tried to laugh, but it cracked mid-breath. I did not mean it like that. I was angry. You know how people say things they do not mean. I nodded. Sure, but you said it. I did not raise my voice, did not accuse, just stated the fact and went back to stacking plates. That is what made it worse, because anger she could argue with. But this was surgical. She hovered there in the doorway for a moment like she was waiting for me to say something else, offer an out, a rope to pull her back onto solid ground. I did not. Instead, I picked up my book from the counter, sat down, turned to the dog-eared page. The kids were already in the living room, half watching a cartoon, half scrolling through their phones. She stood there, then slowly walked out. No apology, no fight, just silence. And I let it stretch. Let it settle over the house like ash. Because when someone burns the bridge, it is not your job to rebuild it. The envelope arrived on a Thursday, thick cream stock, embossed logo in the top left. Westfield Academy never skimped on appearances. It landed on the counter between a grocery circular and a water bill, but it might as well have come laced with dynamite. I saw it first, but I did not touch it. Just set the other mail aside, placed the envelope dead center like a warning flare, and walked away. She did not open it that night, but she saw it. Her eyes lingered on it like it might bite. She made pasta, forced a joke during dinner, pretended everything was normal. Chloe mentioned a spring recital. Mason asked if we were still going to the science fair next month. She told them, of course, with a smile so thin you could see through it. That evening, after the kids were in bed, she finally cracked. We were both in the den. I was rechecking some receipts. Nothing school-related, just habit. She walked in barefoot holding her phone. No makeup, no armor. They sent the reminder, she said. I did not look up. I saw. It is due in 5 days. I nodded. That is what the email said. There was a pause. She stepped closer. So, you are really not paying? I closed my laptop gently and looked her dead in the eye. You said they are not mine. I am honoring that. Her face twisted. You are punishing the kids. No, I am stepping back like you told me to. You made it clear I am not their parent. They love you, she snapped. I raised an eyebrow. Do they? Or do they love the man who pays the tuition and remembers to pick up the cupcakes for Chloe's class on Fridays? That is not fair. I tilted my head. Neither was what you said. And with that, I stood, walked past her, and turned off the kitchen light on my way to bed. She told the kids nothing. Of course, she did not. She tried to act like the envelope did not exist, like the walls were not closing in, but kids are not blind. Chloe started glancing at her phone more, probably checking the school application. Mason stopped asking about the science fair. They did not know the details, but they felt the chill. Her pacing became a nightly ritual. After dinner, after dishes, she would walk laps in the hallway, phone in hand, occasionally stopping to stare at the envelope, still unopened, still looming. She tried moving money that weekend. I noticed the bank notification, a denied transfer, insufficient funds. She had a good job, sure, but private school for 2 kids was a different beast, especially when you had gotten used to someone else carrying the weight. She started staying up later. I could hear her on the phone in the laundry room, whispering tense, probably trying to find a backup plan, but she did not have one. And the envelope sat on the counter like a clock ticking down. Because when you remove someone from the story, you do not get to ask them to proofread the next chapter. The email from the school came Monday morning. Subject line, Parent Contact Verification Spring Term. A routine administrative request. They sent one every semester, usually ignored by most families, but this time I opened it immediately, scanned each field carefully. My name was still listed as primary emergency contact, secondary billing, field trip authorization, and after-school release. All the roles I had filled without thanks, without question for nearly a decade. This time I edited every field. One by one I selected remove. At the bottom, under additional comments, I typed, please remove me entirely from all parental contact roles, billing responsibilities, and authorization access effective immediately. All communications and obligations should be directed solely to their mother. Thank you. It was sterile, deliberate, the kind of note that does not invite clarification. I clicked send. 3 hours later, my phone rang. Westfield's main office. I knew the number before I picked up. Hi, Mr. Callahan, this is Patrice, Billing and Administration. We received your update and I just wanted to confirm you intended to fully remove yourself from all parental permissions. Is that correct? Yes. I see. Forgive me. I want to make sure you understand what that entails. Field trips, medical emergencies, anything requiring legal authorization. I understand, I said. Their mother made it clear I am not their parent. I am respecting that. There was a pause. Then more softly, I am sorry to hear that, me too. And I hung up. I did not feel proud. I did not feel vindicated. I felt still, like someone had turned off a humming appliance in the background that I had not realized was driving me crazy. That night at dinner, Chloe looked across the table, eyes flicking between her mom and me. Is Dad okay? I looked up briefly, met her gaze, then returned to my baked chicken like it was the only thing that mattered. Her mother jumped in. He is just being dramatic, honey. I did not respond. Chloe did not believe her because dramatic was never my style, and they knew that if I raised my voice, it was to cheer from the bleachers. If I stepped into a school office, it was to donate or volunteer. I was the guy who filled out the parent surveys, who sent thank you notes to teachers, who remembered to bring peanut-free snacks for the class trip. So when I stopped, they noticed. She knew it too. I caught her that night rereading the school's email on her laptop, lips pressed tight, jaw clenched. She clicked through the contact forms like she was hunting for an error, some hidden checkbox that would undo what I had done. There was not one because I was not just stepping back from payments. I was erasing myself from the narrative she tried to write me out of anyway. And when the school prints the next newsletter, when the parental acknowledgments list names at the bottom, it will not include mine. Not because I forgot, but because she asked me to remember I did not belong. And I finally listened. She left early Saturday morning under the excuse of getting groceries, but I knew better. The bags she returned with were suspiciously light. Milk, bread, a few apples, nothing that required a 2-hour absence, and no receipt. Later that night, I saw a text flash on her phone while it was charging on the counter. I can send $2,000, but that is all. Do not ask Mom. She is still pissed. Laura, her sister, the same sister she had not spoken to in 4 months. Reconciliation by necessity, not affection. Her pride was cracking. I watched her pace in the kitchen later that night, glass of wine in one hand, phone in the other, whispering through clenched teeth. Then came the call I had been expecting. She stepped outside onto the patio. I muted the television. Hey, yeah, it is me. I know it has been a while. Pause. No, everything is fine. Look, I hate to ask you this, but... Longer pause. They said if I cannot pay by Monday, the kids cannot re-enroll. I just need something short-term. I will. Silence. No interruption. Just silence from his end. Then, oh, her voice dropped, right? I understand. Of course. Yeah. No, it is fine. She came back inside, did not say a word, did not look at me, went straight to the bathroom and locked the door. The muffled sound of the faucet running drowned out the sound of her wiping away whatever was left of her dignity. I did not ask how it went. I did not need to. The next day, while cleaning the printer tray, Mason, 12 years old and smarter than most adults I know, found the tuition letter, a printed email, crisp and folded once. He brought it into the living room while she was upstairs, holding it like it was evidence from a crime scene. Mom, he called out. She answered from above. Yeah. He hesitated. Are we leaving school? I froze. She came downstairs slowly, saw what he was holding, and her face blanched. What is that? She asked too sharply. It says we have not paid, he replied, and there is a deadline. She opened her mouth, closed it, tried again. Do not worry about that. It is adult stuff. He did not buy it. Did Dad quit on us? He asked, voice barely above a whisper. And that right there, that broke something. She did not answer, just stood frozen like she had not rehearsed for this scene. Because how do you explain to a child that your ego cost them their education? Later that night, when the house was quiet again, I saw her hunched over her laptop, eyes red, shoulders sagging. She navigated to the Westfield tuition portal and clicked the tuition assistance link. The page took a while to load. She stared at the blinking cursor for a long time before she started filling in the fields: income, dependents, reason for assistance. Her hand hovered above the submit button, but then application deadline passed. February 15th appeared in red across the top of the screen. Too late. She slammed the lid shut like it might reverse the clock, but time does not care about regrets and forms do not accept apologies. The clock had run out, and now the children she claimed were hers. They were starting to see who really stayed and who just spoke. She arrived 15 minutes early, dressed like she was headed to a job interview she had not prepared for. Blouse 1 button too high, blazer wrinkled from the back seat, hair pulled into a tight bun she had not worn in years. She looked like someone trying to wear competence like a costume. Her hands shook as she signed in at the front desk. The receptionist, bright smile, perfectly clipped syllables, asked if she wanted water. She declined. They led her to the conference room where the principal waited along with a billing representative who did not bother to hide the manila folder with their last name printed on the tab. Westfield was polite but not subtle. "Thank you for coming, Miss Callahan," the principal began, clasping her hands across the table. "We understand financial strains happen, and we want to work with families whenever possible." She nodded quickly, too quickly. "Yes, I appreciate that. I just need a little time." The woman from billing flipped through the folder. Tuition for both Chloe and Mason is currently unpaid. The deadline was last Monday. We are prepared to extend the due date 2 weeks under the condition we receive updated financial documentation. "Yes, of course," she said, digging in her bag for a manila envelope stuffed with recent pay stubs, bank statements, a letter from her employer, everything she had rushed to collect after the portal denied her assistance application. The woman accepted it, began leafing through. "And the father?" the principal asked casually, like she was asking about the weather. She froze, blinked, the pause stretched. "He is not involved anymore." The room chilled. The billing representative looked up slowly. "I am sorry. He has been the only financial contact for the last 10 years. The principal leaned forward gently, but with clear concern. "Was there a change? Is he all right?" She swallowed. Her voice cracked just enough to break the veneer. "That was his decision." No one said anything for a beat too long. The woman from billing nodded slowly and made a note on the form. "All right, well, we will process this and follow up by Friday." The meeting ended with tight smiles and limp handshakes. No warmth, just polite distance. She walked out of the building like someone who had held it together for too long. In the parking lot, she climbed into the driver's seat and gripped the steering wheel. Her eyes stared straight ahead, unmoving, unfocused. Then, slowly, the tears came. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet, steady streams. She did not bother to wipe away because that conference room was not just about tuition. It was a funeral for the image she had clung to, the story she had told herself, that she was in control, that she did not need him, that she could fix it all with a well-timed smile and a carefully curated lie. But now she had said it out loud. He is not involved anymore. And for the first time in months, maybe years, no one believed it was by accident. Dinner that night was awkward from the first spoonful. Chloe picked at her mashed potatoes. Mason stacked peas into a pyramid which slowly collapsed onto his chicken. The clinking of forks on ceramic was the only soundtrack. No laughter, no teasing. No, guess what happened at school today? Just tension. Thick and sour, like something had gone bad in the fridge and no one could find it. She had made me meatloaf, a peace offering probably. It used to be my favorite. I ate it out of politeness, not hunger. She kept glancing at the kids, waiting for one of them to break the silence. They always did eventually, but not tonight. Tonight, they were waiting for me. It was Mason who finally spoke. "Did Dad leave?" My fork froze midair. I looked at him, then at Chloe, who was staring hard at her plate like it might have answers. Then at their mother, who suddenly found something extremely interesting in her water glass. I took a breath, steady, slow. "I am here," I said calmly. Mason did not flinch. "But you are not paying for school anymore." I nodded. "That is true. Why not?" Chloe asked quietly, not looking up. I glanced at their mother again, still silent. Then I said it. "Because your mom said I am not your father." The air collapsed, like someone had yanked the gravity out of the room. Mason blinked, confused. Chloe's mouth opened, but no sound came out. They both turned to look at her. She did not speak, did not deny it, did not explain. Just sat there, lips pressed tight, hands clenched in her lap, like a child caught lying and too proud to admit it. I turned back to them. "That is not your fault," I said gently but clearly. "None of this is. But it means I do not get to make those choices anymore. Not about school, not about money." That is what happens when someone says you do not belong. They just stared at me, at her, at the space between. She still did not speak because what could she say? That she did not mean it? That it was a joke? That a decade of love and doctor visits and night tears and birthday cakes meant less than one petty comment? I stood up quietly, took my plate to the sink, rinsed it clean, placed it in the dishwasher, wiped the counter where a drop of ketchup had landed. Then I walked out of the kitchen. No speech, no drama, just the weight of something irreversible settling into the walls. That is the thing about words. They do not unsay themselves, especially not when your kids hear the silence that follows. The envelope from the school arrived on a Friday afternoon. No embossed crest this time. No warm pleasantries. Just a blunt header in all caps. Final notice. Tuition unpaid. Enrollment terminated unless paid in full. No more extensions, no more sympathy, no more polite phone calls. The balance sat there in thick black ink. A final number, $24,000. No wiggle room, no installment plans, no deferments. She stared at it for a full 10 minutes without moving. Then she scrambled. She pulled open drawers, logged into 3 bank applications, made 2 calls to no one who picked up, tried a credit card that had always been her emergency parachute, declined twice. The math did not care how sorry she was. She found me in the garage. I was oiling the hinges on the side gate, something I had been meaning to do for months. It squeaked every time the kids took the trash out, and they always forgot to close it properly. A small task, a bit of normalcy. She did not even knock, just stepped in and stood there with a letter crumpled in her hand. "They are going to be pulled out of school," she said, as if I did not already know. I did not stop working. I tried everything, she added, voice cracking. "My credit's maxed. My sister is done helping, and their father, you know what he said." Still, I said nothing. Finally, she dropped the act. "I need your help." The quiet after that sentence was louder than a scream. I set down the oil can, wiped my hands on a rag, and walked past her into the house. She followed, desperate now. "Please, they will be humiliated. Chloe is already talking about her recital. Mason's friends are all there. Do not do this to them." I nodded slowly, then opened the drawer by the hallway desk and pulled out a thick envelope I had prepared days ago. It had been sitting there, waiting like a loaded chamber. I handed it to her without a word. She looked confused, then tore it open. The first page was a typed note. Short, unmistakable, I was proud to raise them. "You chose to erase me, so now you get to do it all." Her hands trembled as she flipped to the second page. It was a copy of the voided tuition payment. Dated, time-stamped, 9/17 post-meridian. The night she told me they were not mine. She looked up at me, eyes wet, face pale. Something in her wilted, not in an angry way, not indignant, just defeated, because she knew. She knew the exact moment this domino started to fall, and she knew why. I nodded once, a silent confirmation. Then I walked past her, past the photos on the wall, past the half-packed backpack Mason had left by the stairs, past the open door. I did not slam it, did not say goodbye, because there was not anything left to say. Not as a husband, not as a father, just a man who was told he did not belong and finally believed.